Hello, everybody. Hello, Bettina. How are you?
Hi, Eric. Hi, everyone. I'm doing great. How about you?
I'm doing really nice. I have
Good.
a nice weekend planned. I have a baseball tournament, and I got Ashley coming down, and it's gonna be good. It's gonna be a good 3 days. I'm really quite looking forward to it. There's nice fall
Excellent.
weather. It's a little bit cooler outside now, and it's always nice to go on these. The leaves have all began to turn, like last week and
hmm
a half, and provide some beautiful hiking trails, and we can take advantage of some of those. I think.
Yeah. Yeah. I was at the market this morning and it's apple time. And, there's nothing like freshly picked apples. I mean, we eat them from the store all winter and they're just nothing compared to those lovely, crisp, juicy apples that you get in the fall. So I had a hard time deciding. So I mean, they actually mixed a half bushel for me of every kind they had. So it's saved me a lot of decision making, but um, we'll be enjoying those for the next week or so for sure. And it's just nice for the cooler weather, I think.
Do you have a pie in mind? Is Peter excited about all these apples that will sit in the kitchen?
He's always excited when I mention baking, so
Yeah.
so yeah, I might make an apple pie, but I don't know. I don't know. I've been making all sorts of things. I'm back baking again, and um, who knows? Who
Something about the
knows?
cooler weather that inspires the want and desire for baking and
Yeah,
baked goods.
Sunday roast dinners and all that stuff
Hmm.
with the Yorkshire puddings and all that stuff. That's big in his world too. So
Well, that's good. I'm happy for him. Uh, Today, what we wanted to, you had some ideas before the show. You were thinking about life. You know, when we have something that we want or we think we want, and we push really hard for it because we want to be successful. We want to see it succeed. We want to create something grand in our minds. And sometimes we can lose track of the loving presence inside of ourselves and living in a way that feels kind and uh, calm and relaxed and like there's such a difference between when things just flow from you because it's a love as opposed to really fighting, clawing, and scratching, and causing stress and conflict within ourselves and with others. And so I wanted to open up that to you about what in particular kind of had you feeling that way this week.
I've talked probably ad nauseum over the last couple of years about my own coaching business and sort of um, the transformation that's been happening with me. And my goodness, when I look back, I think that was like the slowest transformation I've ever experienced because it
Mm-hmm.
seemed to drag on forever. But these things take the time that they take. And
Mm-hmm.
sometimes, a shift can happen overnight, and sometimes it takes a year, 2 years, 20 years, whatever. And it doesn't really matter how long it takes. It's what's important is that it's happening and that you are looking at it with a greater awareness of what is the truth and what is illusion. And I was thinking about it over the past couple of days and how there used to be a very strong need in me to help other people, to show them what I've learned, to give them the gift um, of that awareness and that ability to know who they really are and see the truth of that identity and to really tap into their loving presence. But the thing that happened was that I made the decision to do it as a way to make a living. And it got tied in very much to the money and began to that passion for helping people began to be smothered by the need for money, and it started to disintegrate. And my whole way of approaching it, my whole way of approaching people, my whole set of expectations and then disappointments that resulted from those expectations put me in a very, very negative place. From which, how could I possibly be doing what I first originally was inspired to do if I wasn't even, if I was getting tangled up in my own neediness and desperation? And as time went on and the business started to dwindle, that's actually what happened. And it's just over the last few months that I've actually recognized that, and this is through the benefit of A Course in Miracles, that teaching is not what we think it is. Teaching is not necessarily, gathering clients in or running classes or workshops, or yes, that is a way of doing it, but it's not the only way. And that for myself, I was far better off teaching from the perspective of being what I wanted to teach and recognizing my own loving presence and living as much of my life as an extension of that loving presence as I could, so to inspire and show other people what it could be like, as opposed to appealing to, and this is what I was doing, was even though I kept saying, I cannot appeal to the very thing that I'm trying to get people to understand is an illusion, which is the ego. I can't appeal to that if that's, because it kind of goes against my grain. But I don't have to do that, and I don't have to be in a formal, I am a life coach, I am a spiritual teacher, I am a, putting an identity on it and then a dollar sign on it. There's nothing wrong with that. But when it gets all tangled up together in a very negative way, which was what was happening to me because I really needed the money, or believed I needed the money, and this was the source, right? The source of my abundance was now becoming my coaching practice. And no, that's not the source of abundance. So I recognize I can do something else to make money and still be a teacher of, spirituality, of awareness, of the loving presence, by just being that fully and as often and as much as I can in everything I do in my life, whether it's, now my sewing and alterations, which is like become a big thing for me again, as it was many years ago. And now I'm really back to it. And I have this new machine, so I'm pretty excited about that. But I can be the loving presence, an example of the loving presence in that particular capacity. I can be the loving presence if I go to help Peter at a job that he's doing. I can be the loving presence when I go to choir every Tuesday and Wednesday. I can be the loving presence if I have a coaching client, because I would, if someone wanted, I'm not coaching, I'm just not pushing it. And if someone, feels that I can help them, then my door is always open. But by the same token, if someone wants clothing altered or something made for them, my door is also always open. And it is open with love and kindness and joy and that beauty that is the loving presence. And that's the important thing. And this has like been huge. It's been so huge for me. And yet, gosh, how long did it take me to finally, you know, let go of that not so great relationship I was having with money and with the source, you know, what I believe to be the source of money. So um, there are many ways, there are many ways to teach, and it doesn't necessarily have to be in a formal teaching or coaching setting. And I think it would be really wise for anybody who's considering coaching to really think about and consider sort of all those different things that I have learned the hard way. So, I mean, if if people can benefit from my challenges and my sort of discoveries, then you know, by all means, I'm happy to share that. But I feel much more at peace. I feel much more secure and abundant, and I feel more joy, and I am more in touch with my loving presence because I have let go of that struggle.
Yeah. It's such an interesting thing because we get seduced in how we grow up, in expectations we feel others have of us, in the expectations we have of ourselves that may not even be our real expectations of ourselves. It may just be things that we swallowed along the way and we believe them to be true. You know, we all want to be a great success in some area. And sometimes some of us are lucky enough to find an area of life that's marketable, that's in demand, and you can charge for it, and that's terrific. But even within that, I personally know some people who do that, but are also chained to the thing that they at one time loved, but now it's morphed and mutated into something that they don't love, doing all the things that are required for them to make a business of it and for them to maintain their current level of income at. And when you are in a situation where you don't want to do it anymore, or there's stress or there's constant resistance, both in the world and in yourself to actually do it, where you don't want to, it creates it seems to lower, you know, like the tide raises all ships, but you know, when it goes, that lowers your energy, it lowers your loving presence, and so many other areas of life begin to slowly fail. You know, our lives succeed or fail gradually, then suddenly. And for anybody who's been through a breakup as a result of losing focus on things that are important to you, who have had relationships with family disintegrate, or who have relationships with themselves disintegrate as a result of trying to maintain an ideal of something that long ago no longer was right for them or was no longer inspired them. And I like what you say about how money isn't necessarily abundance. You know, we have to figure out a way to pay our bills and make more money than we spend. But, you know, there's two sides to that equation. And it's not so much how much we bring in as in how we feel while we satisfy making more money than we spend. And it's huge. And I'm such a proponent of constantly reevaluating, like taking things apart and asking yourself. That's what's so important about meditation and going on walks or whatever the activity is for you. So you can constantly recalibrate and look at your life and see where in some areas you're doing things that you don't want to do any longer. And that can go from having short patience with people who you love, all the way to maybe this career or what I'm doing within my career is not actually bringing me joy anymore. And what's the point? What's the point of making a little bit more money if it's not bringing you joy anymore? You know, I understand we all have responsibilities and we all have things that we've taken on and financial responsibilities in that regard, but deconstructing things and recalibrating can also help you realize that a lot of that stuff isn't actually necessary.
Yeah, and you know, what I found really interesting is, you and I talked about this before, is that I'm kind of enjoying the fact that I have many little pots on the fire, and that one day I might be a coach and the next day I might, or sometimes in the same day. I mean, a couple of weeks ago I was talking about how in one day I was a renovator, a life coach, a choir manager, and a sewer all in the same day. And that's kind of fun to be able to, wear many different hats and do many different things. I find it interesting and challenging, and I've always kind of been where there's many things I'd like to do. And, I will go from one to the other very, very easily. And sometimes they cross over. Sometimes someone I'm coaching wants some alterations done, and, I'm okay with that too. It's just letting yourself off the hook and realizing it's a struggle. And, I was thinking the other day, there's so many wonderful teachers out there. Maybe I don't have the right temperament. Maybe I don't have the right personality to be a coach. I certainly think I don't have the right personality to market myself, which, whether I'm a good coach or not, I'm a good coach for a number of people who I have been able to help. But I really don't have the personality to market myself in a way. It's just not who I am. And I need to be okay with that. And I need to, not as a life coach. I think I can market myself as a seamstress much easier because it's tangible than to market myself for something intangible like coaching. And that's okay. Like, I don't have to be good at everything, even though my little Enneagram 5 says I should be the expert at everything. I don't have to be. And once I let that go, I can really sort of relax and say, I don't have to put on this persona of being, Miss Spiritual. I can, relax and laugh and enjoy myself and make jokes and not always be in business mode all the time. Like, well, this is who I am. I'm a coach, so I'm like all that. I'm not all that. It's not real. You know what I mean? It's and that's a whole other part of this growth that I've been going through, is recognizing that it's not about never feeling anything negative or going through suffering or being sad or angry or judgmental. It's about loving that human experience, no matter what it is, and loving yourself through the ups and downs, and recognizing when you are in a space that you are putting out a call for love, and be the own answer to that call. Be your own answer to that call for love when you are behaving in a way that's, less than stellar. We all do it. It's part of the human experience. But how do we look at it? How do we see it? How do we forgive ourselves? How do we forgive others? How do we stay in a place that's peaceful, no matter what's going on around us and no matter what's going on inside us? And that's the other kind of piece to the puzzle that is all coming together for me. And it's that I don't have to worry about what other people think of me. I don't have to worry about, I just have to worry about where I'm at. That's it. Just have to worry about where I'm at. And when you stop worrying about the money, the bills are paid. Like I said to Peter, I'm like so excited. We're in a really good financial place right now. And I don't know how it happened. Nothing really changed. But, there you have it. Things seems to be flowing. I'm not going to question it. I'm not going to argue with it. I'm quite happy. But I'm also not going to freak out tomorrow if it suddenly stops either. Because that's, again, not what abundance is all about. It's not about the money. It's not, in the Course, it says something about, you think that little pieces of silver and slips of paper are going to answer all your problems. No, it won't. I mean, there are many, many people out there who have a shit ton of money who are just as unhappy as the ones who don't. And in fact, sometimes I think people with less money are a little happier because they have less to lose.
Mm.
Because we're all attached to our stuff, right?
Yeah. Well, being unhappy is expensive. The happier you are, the more joyous you are, the more you just enjoy your partner or your boyfriend or girlfriend or kids or family or friends, the less you need to spend. You can just have a coffee and have a wonderful night. You can go for a walk and have a wonderful night. You can play a board game and have a great time. But when you're unhappy, you want to fill yourself up. It's the same thing with food. It's the same thing with drugs or alcohol or buying yourself material goods, or little experiences. It's because being unhealthy is expensive, because you get in this mindset, especially if you watch TV and commercials. When you're advertised to, it just only reinforces it, that you don't feel as good as you could without our product or service. And when we're unhappy, when we go to a job we don't like for 10 hours, with getting ready and driving and working there, when we come home, we want to treat ourselves. And usually by treating ourselves, we spend money. And it's amazing how cheaply you can live. It's a spiral upwards, because you don't need to go out for $120 dinner. You don't need to buy a new shirt. You don't need to have a new wardrobe or a third pair of boots, because you understand that you're just happy already. You don't even have the impulse to make yourself happier through something that is not from the inside out.
Yeah, I think the richness is in the experiences that we have and how we see those experiences. Because two people can have the same experience and come out of it, with very different perspectives on it. Two people can go out for dinner and have the exact same thing, and one will come home and say, that was the worst meal I ever had. And the other person will say, wasn't that amazing? Wasn't that just the greatest thing? And the other person say, I don't know what you're talking about. The waiter was shitty. The food was crap. And the other person saying, well, I didn't see that at all. So the richness does come in how you perceive the experience, not in how much it costs, not in how much is in your bank account, but the richness really does come in the immersing yourself fully in the experience in the present moment, and seeing the experience as something interesting, not even good or bad, but just interesting.
Yeah.
That's,
Yeah,
I think when we immerse ourselves in the enjoyment of the experience, we forget about the negative stuff, right? I mean, I think, like the night we went bowling, I mean, there wasn't a moment during that night that I thought something was wrong or bad or anything. It was just pure joy and laughter, and like a really rich and enriching experience.
Yeah.
And yet, I know people who could do the same thing and find, oh, I got a lousy score, or blah, 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 blah. I got a lousy score. I didn't care because I was having fun, I mean, it really is our perspective and how we see things. And if we're unhappy and we don't change our perspective, we're never going to be happy. And no amount of money is going to buy that for us, or no amount of, job satisfaction is going to change that, or relationship satisfaction, or whatever. It's all what we put into it is what we get out of it, twofold, tenfold.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. Best way to feel love is by being loving. It's one of my favorite sayings.
Yeah, to give and to receive are the same.
Yeah. Well, we've used up our half hour already.
Huh.
How do you
I
feel about
talked a
finishing this?
lot, I know that.
How do you feel about finishing us off the meditation today?
I could do that.
Okay.
All right, so let's close our eyes and take a deep breath. And as you breathe into this present, vibrant moment, experience every sensation around you, every sound, every smell, every touch, every feeling, every thought, every emotion. Experience all of it. Remove the judgment from it and just experience. It's like, isn't that thought interesting? Look at that emotion that's coming up. How interesting is that? It's like watching a movie. You go to the movie and you don't decide to analyze every little thing. You're going to the movie to be entertained, to watch something of interest, sometimes to learn. Take every moment and experience it in a vibrant and a immersive way. And plan to have fun no matter what. Plan to enjoy every moment. We can set the experience in motion. We can set the tone for the experience. Plan on doing that. Express that joy that is fighting to come out, that wants to be felt, that wants to be present in your life. It's always there. The joy, the love, the happiness, it's always there. We just choose to turn our back on it. Turn toward it. Allow it in. I guarantee you won't be disappointed. Feel and see the joy in every moment. And then when you're ready, wiggle your fingers and your toes and bring yourself back to the world.
Thank you, Bettina.
You're welcome.
Well, thank you everybody for joining today, and we'll see you all again next week.
Have a great week, everyone.